interesting. Is it better to set the alarm to wake early as part of a daily routine, or just let yourself wake naturally? Really, really interesting question. Now, yeah, brilliant, brilliant question. The way that I think it's important to talk about the way that our sleep works. So our sleep works in cycles. To begin with, we've got our light sleep, and that can be just, as we're drifting off, and we go into light sleep throughout the night as well. The second part is that deep sleep. So that's the really deep restorative sleep, and that is where your body physically repairs itself. Then we have our REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, and that is where our brain consolidates memories, things that we've learnt. It also helps us to feel fresher in the morning, and it also helps to regulate our hunger hormones for the next day as well. So you've got your light sleep, you've got your deep restorative sleep, and you also have your REM sleep. Now, these are going through cycles throughout the night. And if you wake up in the middle of a deep sleep, you kind of know about it, because it's that sleep inertia. When you wake up and you just feel really foggy and really groggy, and just like you can't wake up. That's why you've interrupted that sleep cycle. So in an ideal world, we would wake up at the end of a sleep cycle and ready to start our day. But it doesn't always work like that. But what does happen is our bodies work on a 24-hour clock, pretty much. And it's a circadian rhythm. Now, if we stick to the same time every single day, then our body adapts and it gets used to it. And it shifts us into a pattern where actually, if we get up at exactly the same time, go to sleep at exactly the same time every day, it shifts us into a pattern where we do wake up and we feel refreshed. And when we go to bed at night, our body is almost pre-preparing to go to sleep at that time, because that's what it's used to. So it goes to bed at that time, you wake up at the same time, and you get into a really good rhythm. But what tends to happen is, say during the week, we set an alarm. We set an alarm and we get up at, I don't know, whatever time, insert a time, 6 a.m. Get up at 6 a.m. or 5 to 6, come into the early morning class. But at the weekend, we then think, oh, do you know what? It's been a long week. I'm tired. I deserve a lie-in. I'm going to get up at 9, or I'm going to get up at 8, wherever it might be. And that's quite wildly different from your usual wake time. That's when we push ourselves into a social jet lag, and we essentially throw this all out. We throw the rhythm of our sleep completely out, because we feel like we deserve a lion. Yeah, you know what? We deserve it. We deserve it. But it is not good for our sleep, and it's not good for our sleep hygiene. And then when we get back to Monday, we're trying to get back into a rhythm again, but the body's out of rhythm. So the best thing you can do, and in an ideal world, you would wake up naturally at the same time every single day. And do you know what? After a while of going to bed at the same time, getting up at the same time, particularly waking at the same time, sometimes getting to sleep, I know it can be tricky, and waking up in the night, it can be tricky. But if you just stick to that getting up at the same time, then your body soon gets into a rhythm. Actually, you start to wake up naturally at that time. So I wake up at 5:15 every single day. At the weekend, I find that my body is waking me up. Sometimes I might be able to sleep in a little bit, and the research currently supports it. You can stretch it up to 20, 30 minutes leeway, by the way, without affecting these cycles, without affecting your sleep hygiene. But I find that I wake up. I just wake up, and I do that naturally. So say if I think, oh, do you know what, I'm going to have a lie-in, but I know it doesn't sound like a lie-in, but like 6:15, that's like an hour. There's an hour's different. Chances are I'm going to wake up before then. Not only me, but Autumn is going to be waking up as well. So I find that actually I feel much fresher when I stick to my timings. And if you struggle to go to sleep as well, sometimes, and I know it's hard and it's a tough way around of doing this, but it's the most effective way in my personal opinion. Getting up at the exact same time, even if you've had a bit of a rubbish night's sleep, can be very helpful, because if you keep on doing that, say like 3 weeks in a row, and by the way, I would do, if you struggle with sleep, do your exercise in the morning, allow your body more wind down time at night. So if possible, do it first thing in the morning. Get up at the same time every single day for 3 weeks, even on a Saturday and a Sunday, and it works the opposite way as well. So as you start to get towards bedtime, you will be tired. You'll be starting to get tired. Your head will hit the pillow, and you'll be getting some good deep sleep as well, and back and into those cycles. A lot of people think, oh no, I can't get that. I can't do that. I need to have a good night's sleep before I start to implement something like that. So their timings are all over the place. The best thing to do is go. It's like go hard, isn't it? Go hard, get up at the same time. But that's the best thing to do. So when I joined LMF, I opted for the low impact options in workouts. As my fitness and pelvic floor have improved, the high impact versions are now an option. Are there any added benefits for perimenopausal women doing jumping? Should I be pushing myself to do more jumping around in class, or are the low impact moves sufficient? Do women of my age benefit from jumping? What a fantastic question. And also, I just want to say, how amazing is that? Pelvic floor has improved. Yes, that's so amazing. And it just goes to show, that consistency and working on your strength and working on your core overall is so important. So, so, so important. And consistency is key, always. Now, are there any benefits from doing jumping? Like, is it absolutely necessary? Yes and no. So let's talk about the yes first and why jumping is important, and particularly as we get older as well. So it's for two reasons, really. And firstly, our bone density. So after about the age of 30, we can start to lose muscle mass. And also, which protects our bone, by the way. So it's very, very important to keep as much lean muscle mass as you possibly can. Really important. So that's where strength training comes in. So that's going on. But also at the same time, particularly when we hit perimenopause and beyond, our bone density starts to decrease. So how can we do anything about it? What can we do? Strength training is really important. And then you might have heard of weight bearing exercise, and high impact comes into this. Now, high impact is a really effective way of creating on the bones and the muscles, of course. But bone is active tissue and it responds to a stimulus. So if we are doing jumping and high impact, it is going to respond to that stimulus and want to get stronger. So that's why jumping can really come into its own here, because our body's saying, right, okay, we're going to need to put down a little more, in simple terms, bone density there to respond to that stimulus. So it's called osteogenic loading. So that's the first thing. It can be good for that. Of course, too much of something can be a bad thing as well. There's a level. The second thing is for our muscles and our power. And jumping, high impact movement, that could be high intensity as well. Anyway, high impact movement is really good for muscle power. So that's moving at a pace and moving load at a pace as well. So it's good for both of those things. Now, so I said yes and no. Let's move to the other side. The reason I'd say no is because you don't have to necessarily do it in order to get a similar benefit. Like, yes, it is good. And just because we reach a certain age, or just because we hit the perimenopause or postmenopausal, it doesn't mean that we need to start avoiding high impact. And in fact, it does have an important place. But if for whatever reason, it's not right for you or your body, and actually it feels painful, or it's uncomfortable, there are other ways that you can encourage this osteogenic loading. That can be from, when we're doing power walking, really getting a stomp on. It can be from doing things like step sessions, step classes. It can be doing things like dance fitness. All of those are going to encourage that weight bearing exercise. Also, strength training is going to complement it here as well. Not only is it going to protect your muscle mass, which in turn protects your bones. If we fall over, if we've got muscles protecting our bones, it's like having padding around them, right? But strong padding, not rubbish, flimsy padding, if you get what I mean, if you're with me. But also, resistance training is really important for that compressive force through your hips and your spine. So you can always do things like that. Or if it feels okay to do a little bit and then go back to low impact, doing that can be really, really beneficial as well.